I'm Gary Jolly. Martha and I have been members here for many years, and this is my story. I grew up in a loving Christian home, enjoyed church, enjoyed our youth fellowship, uh, and then I went to college. And when I got to college, I found out that drinking, smoking weed, and chasing girls was a lot more fun than studying. So you may know where this is going. I finally had gotten to the point that the house that I lived in was right across the street from the Wesley Foundation. Walter McGee was the campus minister, and I had been to some of their services before. So I'm sitting on the front steps of this house, drinking a cup of beer that I poured up from some scraps around the house, and picked up a handful of cigarette butts that had a puff or two in them. I'm sitting on the steps. Beautiful day. I remember clear blue sky. It was cool. It was up in the fall. And I heard the music from across the street. And all of a sudden, it was just like a slap on the back of the head. God had slapped me on the back of the head. He said, "Gary, you're a mess. You have dug yourself into a hole. If you don't get out of it, you're just not going to make it." So the next day, I drove back to Franklin, where I grew up. I talked to Pastor Glenn Sowers. And Glenn talked with his hands a lot. And I told him my story, and he said, "Gary, you're a mess." He said, "It doesn't take much to turn a little Piper Cub around. It takes a lot to turn a big 747 around." And he said, "You're that 747 right now." So that was pretty realistic. He prayed with me. I know my mother had been praying because she kind of knew what had been going on. So I started going the other direction. Then luckily, fortunately, I met Martha. Martha always takes credit for straightening me out, but it was her and God. And I knew that if I was ever going to have any kind of relationship with her, I was going to have to get out of these old habits. So fortunately, I did. We married, had two beautiful little girls, Melissa and Carrie. Carrie and Melissa. I say them that way, so I'm not saying either one of them's name first. Good life. Enjoyed, the family and all. And unfortunately, I developed a physical malady that involved a lot of pain. I started taking hydrocodone and tramadol. And I had, guess you know where this is going. For several years, I lived day to day for those pills. And then we found out we're going to be grandparents. So God reached down and smacked me on the head again and said, "Gary, if you want to see these babies grow up, you're going to have to clean yourself up." So I went to the doctor, and the doctor put me on a kind of a weaning schedule. It was over several weeks, and I thought it's just too long. So I just said a couple of prayers. I said, "God, let's see what we can do." So I set the pill bottles where I could see them. And for about 5, 6, 7 days, I went through some withdrawal. Very unpleasant. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. But that was several years ago. I got cleaned up, and I've been clean ever since. So I guess technically I'm bearing my soul. But if it helps one person that hears this, then it's all been worthwhile. And like the old guy said, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. How's that?